So for this one, we are going to need to find the center, the vertices, and the foci. So let's write down the few things that we need to find. So whenever we're finished, we need to know the center of this one. We need to know the vertices. That's plural, so we're going to need to know more than one vertex. Because remember, in an ellipse, you have a vertex on either end. This way, if the major axis is horizontal. This way, if the major axis is vertical. So we're going to have 2 coordinates for that, and the foci, which of course is plural, we're going to have 2 coordinates for that as well. And it's based on this equation. And, like always, we're going to need this information that comes from this equation in order to find that stuff. So we need to manipulate this to look like that. At first it's going to look a lot like the last problem. Then we're going to do something different with it instead of graph it. So let's just get started with it and go a little bit faster than we did on the last one. That 8's going to get in the way, so we move it over. We will also group together the x's and the y's. So we have 4x squared minus 8x, y squared minus 4y, and that's equal to 8. And that's great, but we're not done. What we need to do is look at these and make sure that there is not a coefficient other than 1 in front of it. And sure enough, there's just a coefficient of 1. So on this one, we can put plus blank. Okay, now on this one, we can't, not until we factor out the 4. X squared minus 8 divided by 4 is 2, plus blank, there we go. And over here on this side, we have 8 plus, now, again, we just addressed this in the other video, but this is not going to be plus blank, it's 4 times that. So 4 times something plus that one right there, which wasn't multiplied by anything. Okay, let's fill in some blanks. Half of -2 is -1, square it's positive 1. That's a 1, that's really a 4. Half of -4 is -2, and whoa, hold on, I just made a mistake in writing it. I hope you noticed it. Here we go. Bloop, bloop. That's going to change a couple things if we're not careful. I'm going to pause right here and make sure that I wrote the whole problem down wrong. Boy, I need to do this whole thing wrong. There we go, that's right. Let's keep going then. There we go. Half of 4 is 2 squared is 4, there we go. Alright, on the right side we have 8 plus 4, that is 16. That's a perfect square. That's going to come in handy later. Right here we have y plus 2. It is also squared, and here we are going to factor this one. When we factor it, we have x minus 1, and it is squared, and there's a 4 in the front. Again, this doesn't look like this because we don't have the 1. So let's make it have the 1. There we go. There's 1 here. There's a 16 under there. Y plus 2 squared over 16. And x minus 1 is squared and is divided by, well, 4 over 16 is 4. There we go. So now we have our equation. Let's address an issue that needs to be fixed before we go any further. Is this one taller than it is wide, or wider than it is tall? Think about it, and now let's rephrase the question. Does it have a major axis that is horizontal, or does it have a major axis that is vertical? The bigger number is underneath the y, so it's actually taller than it is wide. So if we're using this to guide us, then this is wrong. And so therefore we need to correct this and switch these around, because A is always going to be the bigger number in these and B is the smaller one. Okay, so we can easily find the center, very easily find the center. It is at 1, -2. We've been through that. I don't think that's a major issue. What might help us at this point is to draw a sketch of the graph. And I didn't provide a graph for you on this one, but you can draw it. It's pretty easy. So there we go. Doesn't have to be perfect. So the center is at 1, -2. So we know that much. And we also know that it goes long ways. We know the major axis runs like this. So when we find the vertices, we are finding coordinates that are directly above and below the center. If they are directly above and below the center, then they better have the same x value or y value. Think about it. Okay, they're directly above the center. Are they going to have the same x or the same y? If that's up here, it's going to have the same x. Boy, I hope you said x. Okay, so now the question is, where do the vertices go? How far up do I go and how far down do I go? Well, I'll tell you how far up I go. I go, don't say 16, I go 4. I'm going to go 4 up and 4 down, which really means that the whole length of this is going to be 8. But we're going to go 4 up and 4 down, which really means I didn't draw my graph big enough, but that's okay. There. Okay, so we're going to go 4 up, 1, 2, 3, 4. That puts us at 1, 2. Now, we could have gotten this with arithmetic and without a graph. We add 4 to that. Likewise, we would subtract 4 from the center, and it'll give us a -6. So there it is. So we know it's taller than it is wide. Now, we don't have to draw the whole thing. If we wanted to, it would be 2 to the left and 2 to the right. So 2 this way and 2 that way, and it goes like that, somewhere around like that. But now what we really need to find is the foci. And the foci are, I might draw this completely, I might draw them in the wrong place, but they're going to be approximate. They are here-ish and here-ish, okay? They're about here and here somewhere. But now the deal is, we don't know where that is, nor do we know how far away each focus is. That's a smudge. We don't know how far away each focus is from the center. And that, if you will look back on the original picture that we did at the very beginning of these notes, that is the C value. So really what we need is not in this formula. What we need is going to come from this formula. Because the placement of the foci is an issue that deals with C. So let's find it. A squared, well, A is 4 and 4 squared is 16, so we could just extract it straight out of here. That's 16. Minus B squared, which is 4, and that's equal to C squared. Here we go, that's 12, and that's equal to C squared, so C is equal to the square root of 12. Don't do plus and minus, because this is a distance. 2 squared root of 3. Now, again, let's keep in mind that the focus is that far above the center and that far below the center. If it went horizontally, it would be to the left and to the right. But we are going to add this value and subtract this value from the y-coordinate of the center, and that will tell us the exact placement of each focus. I'll say that one more time. We're going to add 2 squared root of 3 to that, and we're going to subtract 2 squared root of 3 from that, and that will tell us how much it goes up and down. So, the focus is at 1, comma, -2 plus 2 squared root of 3. Don't get all decimally. There it is. That's the exact value. They're unlike terms. Don't try to even add them together. They're unlike terms. So 1, comma, -2 minus 2 squared root of 3. There it is.